Good evening. Welcome to the twice monthly meeting of Westminster's Mayor and Common Council. I'm pleased to note that the Mayor and Council are once again able to meet publicly here in our chamber in City Hall. And even as our meetings become open to the public again, they will continue to be available and streamed live on the city's Facebook page, as well as the Community Media Center channel and website, although we hope to be able to do it from our own city webpage soon. We begin as we do every meeting with the pledge of the flag, followed by a moment of silence. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Copies of tonight's agenda and the entire information packet that the council will be using are available online on the citizens website for anybody interested. First, we'll consider the approval of the minutes. We have minutes from the meeting of the Mayor and Common Council on July 26th. Is there a motion to approve the minutes?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
Is there a second?
I'll second, but I have one correction,
All
Mr.
right,
President.
There's a motion by Ms. Gilbert and a second by Mr. Hoff. Mr. Hoff.
Yes, and I've already mentioned it to Shannon. At the bottom of page 4 of 54, it says the opioid coalition meets once a month. It's twice a month. I mean, I'm sorry, not twice a month. It's once every other month. Sorry.
Okay, so without objection, we will amend the minutes to reflect the correction. Ms. Wiskowski, you've got that? Great, thank you. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the minutes, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. The ayes seem to have it, the ayes have it, and the minutes are approved as corrected. Before we begin the rest of the meeting, I'd like to note that we have with us our County Commissioner from our district, Dennis Frazier, former member of this council. It's always a pleasure to see Commissioner Frazier as a frequent visitor as he is. Commissioner, anything you wanted to mention tonight while you're here?
No, but thank you for saying that here. I appreciate that.
Sure, very good. Well, it's always a pleasure to have you. We have 3 items on the for presentations tonight, and we will turn to the mayor for the first one.
You good?
I think the table moved. All of a sudden, there's a lot more room. So this evening, I have the mayoral proclamation for Childhood Cancer Awareness Month. Whereas the American Cancer Fund for Children and Kids Cancer Connection report cancer is the leading cause of death by disease among U.S. children between infancy and age 15. This tragic disease is detected in more than 16,000 of our country's young people each and every year. And 1 in 5 of our nation's children loses his or her battle with cancer. Many infants, children, and teens will suffer from long-term effects of comprehensive treatment, including secondary cancers. And founded over 27 years ago by Stephen Fernstein, a member of the philanthropic Max Factor Cosmetics family, the American Cancer Fund for Children Incorporated and Kids Cancer Connection Incorporated are dedicated to helping these children and their families. And the American Cancer Fund for Children and Kids Cancer Connection provide a variety of vital patient physiosocial services to children undergoing cancer treatment at Johns Hopkins Children's Hospital, the University of Maryland Children's Hospital, Division of Pediatric Hematology and Oncology at Greenbaum Cancer Center, Herman and Walter Samuelson Children's Hospital at Sinai Hospital in Baltimore, as well as participating hospitals throughout the country, thereby enhancing the quality of life for these children and their families. And the American Cancer Fund for Children and Kids Cancer Connection also sponsored toy distributions, family sailing programs, pet-assisted therapy, educational programs, KCC supercar experience, and hospital celebration in honor of a child's determination and bravery to fight the battle against childhood cancer. Now, therefore, I, Dr. Mona Becker, Mayor of the City of Westminster, in conjunction with the Common Council, do hereby proclaim September as Childhood Cancer Awareness Month in the City of Westminster, adopted this day of August, 2021.
Thank you, Mayor. The next item on the agenda is our quarterly update on the Westminster Fiber Network project. We usually have a city update, and then we also have the Ting update. And we begin with the Ting update. And we have with us tonight, Ms. Val Giovanni of Ting Internet, and we will let you do the report and introduce your successor.
Cool. You're all set? Cool. Like, I think he's playing a video game over there with his camera. So thanks for having us yet again. Go ahead and advance to the, do I have it or does someone else have it?
have to.
Perfect. I'll snap.
Okay.
Not again. So as you all know, I have moved on within our organization and I am working on a national team as we look to scale our business. We've had such success and I've learned so much in Westminster that I'm able to carry that on and share that with other markets as we build. And so, nod. I want to make sure everyone knows that I believe you all do. Vicki Slinkman, and I'm going to give her a couple minutes to chat and catch up with you guys.
Thank you so much, Val. It's very exciting for me to be here. I normally consume this on the other side of the screen, so watching this via Facebook or YouTube, so it's cool to be here on the other side. Though I am new to Ting, I joined in June, so embarking on my second month, not new to Westminster. Have been here for over a decade, love Westminster, and really discovered Ting through a lot of the great work that Val has done. So I've been a Ting customer for many years as well. And so when the opportunity popped up, it seemed like such a natural fit being an internet advocate that I am, and really just using technology to benefit people in any form. I'm all in support of, have spent my most recent career in education technology. So just love seeing how all of that interacts to benefit people, and really appreciated the work that the city has done to bring something so cool and advanced to our little Westminster. So I have spent my entire career in marketing. It really is my passion. I love figuring out what makes people do what they do in terms of their purchase decisions. I love talking to customers, and this role is so great because I get to be able to be out in the community and interacting with people and hearing about Ting. And having come from ed tech, particularly in a for-profit world, you didn't always get a lot of positive feedback, and I have heard nothing but either, oh my God, I love Ting, or the most frequently asked question, when are you coming to blank, insert street or city name. So that's really great to be a part of an organization and a product that people so desperately want to consume. So most recently, I was the director of partner marketing at Pearson, which is a global education company. And I led a team that supported 40 plus virtual public schools across the country. So again, I'm a big advocate of technology, and so thrilled to be a part of Ting and just be able to help the city and interact with you all and growing awareness about Ting and everything that Westminster has to offer. So in addition to my marketing responsibilities, I also have a small part of my job as office manager. And very recently, we relocated. So we are now out at the airport at 125 Airport Drive. I hope to be able to welcome you all out there soon. We're in the process of renovating and getting in all new furniture and just making it, the great experience space and the great welcoming nature that our previous office had. So the pictures aren't exactly like razzle dazzle right now because we're a little bare bones, but the most important part was that the technicians were able to have a space where they were able to get into their equipment a lot easier and in and out. And unfortunately, the downtown space just didn't really have that. So this space is definitely more accommodating of that, but I can't wait until we're back up and operating, and plan to have a big grand reopening and have you all out as well as members of the community. So thank you again very much for inviting me, and thank you to Val for bringing me into the Ting family. And next quarter, I will be here giving you the update all on my own.
And I'll be kind of watching it from the other side. Wonderful. But let me, just take one last opportunity to brag about how great things have been around here. So growth on the fiber network, you can go ahead. We continue to see growth, which is great. Across the city, we're at 30% of a take rate. And I mean, that's just pretty incredible. It makes me really, really proud to see how far we've come. We have 7 customers outside city limits. And remember, those are the customers who are paying the additional $10 fee, which we then pass back over to you guys for the finance fee or the maintenance fee rather. Phase 4 continues to grow as Stonegate gets larger and larger. I don't know if I put it in here or not, so if I am, spoiler alert, but I was finally able to get in touch and face-to-face with the right person out at Stonegate. We got the Stonegate model home wired. We have a special Stonegate promo. We've got a bag of swag, and Brian, who is running it out there, was like, just totally in awe of what we had to offer. And so, essentially he was like, please give me something, even more something to help sell these houses because everyone's talking about Ting. So we really are blowing up out at Stonegate, thanks to now our partnership with DR Horton and making it more official. So you'll see that as we get more addresses, we're also really getting more customers out there as well. Okay, next slide. All right, so we'll just go through the months real quick. Next slide. We did a spring home project campaign. It felt like, everyone was getting out and doing nice things outside. So we offered a $50 gift card, and we tried this new platform where you can send, rather than me having to go all over the store and buy, or the town and buy lots of gift cards, you could set up electronically, people could choose. And because of home renovations, we went ahead and said, you can pick from Home Depot, Lowe's, or a Visa gift card to use locally, and it worked out really well. It was a great promo, and our designers continue to do cute things that I think at least attract attention for sure. Next slide. So Mother's Day campaign was actually running at the same time. This was the first time. Quick side story. We used this company to really examine our users and what type of users are Ting customers. And so we found out that we've got, they called them urban singles, which is a really interesting title, but urban singles, wealthy empty nesters, and high-tech families were our 3 big personas. That's the word I was looking for, personas. And so I was attending a session on the personas, and as they were talking about the high-tech families, I felt like they were talking about my life because they were saying like, mom goes to Pinterest to make every decision and sends, dad to whatever. And I was like, yeah, like Pinterest is my go-to for everything. So I thought, we're trying all these other social platforms. Let's just see what happens on Pinterest. So it was actually a really quick experiment. And so I would advise, that we look at it a little bit differently next time. But, you go to Pinterest and you're searching something like Mother's Day gifts or whatever. You're not necessarily going to search for internet company, but you're searching Mother's Day gifts. So what we did was we wrote a blog about why moms deserve better internet. And we posted that to Pinterest. So as someone went to Pinterest and typed in Mother's Day gifts, this came up as a sponsored ad, and then you could click on it. And then if you actually read it, down at the bottom, it sent to the promo page. But then we also, so that was what happened on the left. And then on the right, we had those on social. So we offered this promo that included a $50 gift certificate to the spa at West Main. Dawn DeMario is a customer in both of her locations, a great supporter of us. So I like to go around town and make sure all of our businesses get some Ting love. So we partnered with her and did the Mother's Day campaign that way. And it was just neat. It was fun to try something different on Pinterest. And so hopefully we'll continue to see where we can trick people into reading a blog about Ting as they're searching for how to build a sunglass holder out of barnwood or something like that. We'll find the connection. We really will. Next slide. So we couldn't forget the dads. And so we didn't do Pinterest for dads. We partnered with Gotham Comics, Run More, and Rock Salt because we said you can either feed dad, he can check out his superheroes, or get him new shoes. I can't remember what the creative was, but it was pretty cute. We partnered with those 3, and we did a social campaign where they could sign up and then get a gift that they could give dad for Father's Day. So just trying to not always do the same things over and over again. Really, social ads are our biggest strong suit because that's where people spend all their time. So we're grabbing them there, but trying to grab them from different perspectives rather than, sticking with all the same holidays, all the same promos. It gets tricky and you got to come up with some new stuff. Next slide. And then we did a national smart home campaign. And this was, tying into our persona of high-tech families. We joke in my house about like, how can we get Siri on our phones to talk to Alexa on all the rest of our devices? Because we're a hybrid home. But there's Google Homes, there's Alexa Homes, there's all that. And so it's so used that we really wanted to focus in on the high-tech families and bringing your smart home to life. So we did a promo there, which was again really successful, and just really talking about like all these things. In order to get them to work consistently, you need a great system, which is like the giveaway was some kind of hub. I cannot remember exactly what it was, but then the idea is, but really to make that hub work most efficiently, you need really good, reliable internet. So really focusing on the high tech piece of it based on our persona information. Next slide. Oh, that's it.
All right, great.
Questions for me or for Ms. Lakeman?
Terrific, thank you. Any questions for Ms. Giovannetti or Ms. Slickman?
I have a comment.
have a
Mr.
comment, yeah.
Yeah, well, Mayor, you.
No, go ahead, Councilman Kabachi.
I was just going to thank Val for everything that she's done. I mean, you've been awesome. You've done such a great job. I remember when you took the job, and I remember you were really nervous the very first meeting. And, like, I just remember you were like kind of like really struggling through it, and now it's you're just amazing, and you've done a wonderful job on this project. And it's no surprise you got promoted and got this hire. That says a lot about what you've done for us here, that they're now going to have you oversee people doing that elsewhere. So yeah, you've done a great job, and I just wanted to say thanks. I'm sure I speak for everybody.
Yeah, no, it's been a pleasure. I've learned a lot, and I feel it was just the right time in my life to try something new and to figure things out. And I think my very favorite part of all of it is that like I have become such a deeper part of the community, and now a town that I just adore and love and feel such a great part of. So it was a gift too, in addition to a pretty awesome job. I keep telling Vicki, like, you have an awesome job. You are going to love this. But
Mayor?
I mean, Councilman Kabachi sort of summed it up there. I think that, just having you as that ubiquitous presence, in the city, the face, you've been the face of Ting, right? And so now Vicky's going to become the face of Ting. But just your responsiveness to everything that needed to be done, especially, when people would ask me, am I eligible for Ting? And sometimes I would just text you
on Sunday mornings.
That was maybe whatever, but just your response and just that presence again, like Councilman Kabachi said, in the city, and you said it yourself, becoming such a part of this community. It's like I feel everyone knows you now, and I love that question that you get, that number one question. When are we going to be able to get
We
something?
do. Yeah, we do.
And we're going to start giving it to them.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Ms.
Thank you.
Giovanni, and thank you, Ms. Slickman. And it's, I'll just say that, I echo what Mr. Kabachi said as well. Well, I was about to get to Councilman Fraser, but I was gonna single him out here in a second to say that, we're very excited that, with what's going on, we're excited about the marketing piece that Ms. Slickman brings, because we're looking
Yes.
forward to the expansion of the Westminster Fiber Network, outside the city, out into the, what?
Don't steal my report.
Oh, I'm sorry. So we're looking forward to the expansion, and I'm glad that Commissioner Fraser was here to listen to this report, and because we're certainly looking forward to working with the county on that. Commissioner, would you like to add something?
Well, we're looking forward to working with the city on this. I think it's great. I have taken my own house.
Yeah, no, thank you.
Oh, you knew that? Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
well, I know it all. I know everything. Sorry.
No, it's a lot.
There we go. We're all neighbors.
Your take-up rate right now is 30%. What did you think it was going to be at this time? Is this exceeding expectations? Are you where you thought you would be, or what?
I think I would say we're doing pretty well. I think there were a couple of the later areas were a little bit difficult in adoption. And we found there were pockets where people, private neighborhoods that took a little longer. And so some things have been coming slower. But really, when you look at where the meat of gigabit internet users are, it's areas like phase 1 and phase 2, right? Over there on the other side of 31, where everyone lives, the Stonegate area, where it's really dense residential. we've struggled a little bit with some of the areas that, like, Baltimore Boulevard runs right through it because Target, national partnership with another provider, lots of the chain stores and such. We're going to be really hard pressed to totally win them over. And that's a lot of those phases 3 and 4 in the business area. So I would say from a business standpoint, we have struggled a bit because, businesses require a little bit different of a perspective. They want to know what the history is. They want to know, can we also connect our 17 other stores across the nation? There's just a different level of enterprise, and we are building our enterprise and building our company in that regard. So business-wise, we've got all of Main Street, covered, like things like that. But really, when you get into the other areas, all of our strip malls and such, so that kind of brings our numbers down. And I think we kind of weren't expecting that just because we hadn't really analyzed how much of that is really national business.
Yeah.
But on the residential perspective, I think we're doing, even in phase 1, can you go back real quick to like the slide that's got the percentages? Because I don't have it memorized.
It's like
I think
only
it's like slide 3.
isn't it?
Or can I look at your computer? I think it's right there. We're at 43% already in area A and D, which is Village of Meadow Creek, Bolton Hill, Whispering Meadows, all that. That's pretty phenomenal. So it's kind of a residentially, absolutely. From the commercial perspective, it's been a little bit of an eye opener. Yeah.
One other question.
Yeah, absolutely.
You said you had some customers outside the city
We do.
already.
7.
Okay. Who paid for the fiber to go outside the city?
I will let Mr. Glass maybe.
So any of the material charges were charged to the customer themselves. Now, we ate the labor to get it there, and then there's a maintenance fee associated with it, but anything outside the city right now, the customer is paid for.
Just curious about how that was happening.
These first few were low hanging fruit. They were easy.
Right.
They're right there.
Or they were running right there. so.
Right.
And Vicki has recently sent a mailing out to the surrounding, the GIS department went through and really picked out about 100 addresses, and we've sent the mailing out, and they know, they will have to pay their materials. We gave an average cost, and then there's a $10 fee, which actually we offered as the promo, like we'll pick up your maintenance fee for a year, so that $120 goes towards that. But yeah, there's that extra. So unfortunately, it does mean their gigabit is 99 rather than 89, but it's worth it.
So just one question. So you said you sent out to about 100 addresses. And are those addresses like these first 7 where they're just drops from a pole? There's no construction going on?
Correct.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, so those 100 addresses were provided by the
Okay.
city.
All right. Okay, great. Thank you.
And they were all labor. I'm pretty sure they
Yeah, thank you.
And they're what?
Yeah.
Sorry?
I was saying, and they are all aerial. I was making sure that we were.
Yeah, they're all aerial, so we're not going to have to dig. Right. Okay, great.
Okay,
No, it's all cool. Thank you.
great.
Thank you.
Very good. Well, we'll look forward to, Commissioner, having some conversations about how we can make that piece of it easier.
Forward to it.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. See, next up is the quarterly progress report from the Mid-Atlantic Gigabit Innovation Collaboratory. Pleased to have Mr. Graham Dodge here with us. Mr. Dodge, thank you very much.
Thank you for having me, Council President and Mayor. Thank you very much. Yes, I am Graham Dodge, the Executive Director of the Mid-Atlantic Gigabit Innovation Collaboratory, or MAGIC for short. And go ahead to the next slide. Just for those of you who do not know who MAGIC is or what it is that we do,
Just a moment, Mr. Chair. I'm sorry, can I ask you ladies if you could just, because we can't see the screen.
Back or.
Maybe the back row would be,
Well, don't sit here because then I'll see her.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you. Thank you so much.
appreciate it.
For those of you who don't know who MAGIC is, we basically, we're a 501c3 nonprofit set up by former members of City Council, and about 5 years, actually this is our 5th year anniversary or birthday for MAGIC. We really see ourselves at the center of all this sort of economic development, workforce development activity, where we are drawing in students and workforce, entrepreneurs and startups, investors and funding, industry volunteers and mentors, to make a concerted effort in economic development on behalf of the city that helps us sort of output economic development, workforce development, startup acceleration, and now angel investing syndication. Go ahead, next slide. We call our economic development initiative Silicon Main Street, which we have started to brand, as you can see here, which is a technology-driven economic development plan for Westminster to reverse the flow of commuters, retain Generation Z workforce to lead to net positive job growth. We also want to create a sandbox infrastructure that's friendly for technology companies to come to Westminster and build their technologies here. Go ahead, next slide. To execute that vision, we see the need to crystallize this vision into an executable plan that includes fiber opportunity zones, the opportunity zone that we have here in Westminster. Perhaps Westminster Town Center Corporation, Stocksdale property, autonomous corridor project, and for the first time, I'm mentioning in one of these meetings, an esports arena, which I'll get into a little bit later. We want to add these budget discussions to city council agendas during public forums, specifically for the autonomous corridor project and for the esports arena. We want to aggregate available data on behalf of, or for economic baseline and key performance indicators on behalf of the city to monitor tax revenue, mean household income, et cetera, over time. So we can actually correlate the success of these programs over time, and then monitor and communicate those through our quarterly updates. So we're just now starting to put all this kind of stuff together. Go ahead, next slide. These are the quarterly key performance indicators that Magic tracks as a result of our programming and for the city as part of our reporting. So you'll see here that we completed our fiscal year. So we're at Q4 now is the most recent numbers with the tallies at the right column. For a number of sponsors participating in special events, we had 12 sponsors in Q4, mostly driven by our autonomous corridor ribbon cutting event. You may see the banners at the Stocksdale property still at Railroad Avenue and Main Street. The event sponsor revenue received in the fourth quarter was $14,600, again, driven mostly by that event. Stakeholder revenue generated in this quarter was $715. Again, most of our stakeholder revenue, donations are done end of year, which usually ends up hitting around Q2 for us. Number of grant applications submitted. We submitted 8, which I think is the record number of grants that we've applied for in one period of time. Of those, we did not get awarded any yet. So we actually did get awarded one, but that technically is going to hit next quarter. And that one will be a $15,000 grant in association with a partner called Kick Robotics, who was at the Autonomous Corridor event, who was working with us to do autonomous soil testing in farms in Carroll County and within the city. So that's $15,000 will go to Magic for helping them with that project. They're a company that's based in Bethesda, actually, and that's a TEDCO grant. The number of grant applications, that's 0. Grant funding, single year, 0 and 0 for this quarter. No multi-year grants, no big single year grants yet, except for that $15,000 that I mentioned that will hit next quarter. Number of volunteers, we had about 12 that we were able to track, total of 44 over the course of the year. Number of outreach meetings held with Westminster-based business CEOs. We had 8, total of 31 over the course of this fiscal year. Next slide. Number of outreach meetings, that's a continued, CEOs outside the city of Westminster. We had 11 of those types of meetings, total of 32 for the year. Jobs placed within the city, we were able to track 2 jobs that we placed in terms of where we had referred people, local workforce to local employers. And then we had 2 that we tracked where we were able to refer local workforce to outside employers. We've seen how that actually does come back to benefit us in the long run as well. Number of conferences and events attended or hosted, 11. Of those where we mentioned the Westminster Fiber Network, 10. And then coverage in local regional news publications. We had 10 articles written about mostly the Autonomous Corridor project. So we even US News World Report and some other national coverage there. Next slide. Okay, so I'm going to play a quick video for you. This is a recap of our Autonomous Corridor ribbon cutting event. Let's see if it works.
It's a good video.
Been really good.
Yeah, thank you. And it's especially thank you to Chief Ledwell and the police department who really helped bring this event together and coordinate with the state police and Maryland Department of Transportation to make this possible, because we had to jump through some hoops to get the Maryland Department of Transportation comfortable with us running the autonomous vehicles the way that we did. And also thank you to Jeffrey Glass for helping us in the street department, Steve Strasberg for helping us with utilizing the Stocksdale property and everything else involved with coordinating an event here on Main Street. So it really was a group effort between the city and the police department, everybody. So yeah, thank you. And it obviously generated some great publicity. It also was a catalyst for us actually branding the Silicon Main Street, which I've got some more slides about later. And then, these are just other accomplishments past quarter. We introduced 12 new startups to the 1 Million Cups Westminster community that we run at Magic, that we are the community sponsors for. We celebrate our 10th Capture the Flag event, which is our cybersecurity competition that is one of the first programs that Magic launched when it was started. And as I mentioned earlier, Magic has turned 5 years old this year. Next slide, please. Might have to click again because of the video. Uh-oh. There we go. So we've talked a lot about the Silicon Main Street initiative, and we just went ahead and branded it and created. We had hired a graphic designer to create this. We tied it in with the sculpture in front of this new city administration building. The city is welcome to use this artwork however it pleases. So this is basically something that we can hand over to the city to start using however it needs. Next slide. We also created a concept rendering of what a boutique hotel might look like at the Stocksdale property for this event. And
Too fun.
It's a pool. No,
That's
it's
a pool.
on the top there.
you can see we were a
And a
little
trampoline.
biased towards autonomy
Not
and
a trampoline.
robotics. So we put an autonomous robotics center.
It can't be a trampoline.
It's a helipad.
It's a
Yeah.
helipad?
No, those are actually vertical takeoff and landing pads, but helipads, yeah.
Okay, all right.
So
It does look like a
Looks like a
trampoline.
trampoline from here.
I thought someone needs a lesson in physics.
I don't think you'd want to jump on that trampoline.
Physics.
Gravity.
So the red vehicle you see approaching that VTOL pad is actually a Maryland-based business called Hop Flight, and that's called their Venturi aircraft, which is a vertical takeoff and landing flying car, essentially. So they are working on developing that in Maryland. They were at our event. But yeah, so we have the Autonomous Robotics Center. So this is just our vision of what it could look like there. It's to scale in terms of the size of the property there. And we know that the city is interested in a boutique hotel in that spot. And that's one vision of what that could look like. And again, these are assets that the city can use if they want to take ownership of them. Next slide, please. All right, so what's ahead next quarter? We have a game demo day for our game development class. So our students have been hard at work all summer working on their games. That's going to be on Facebook Live on Magic's page on August 12th this week. 4 to 5 p.m. If you follow us on Facebook, follow Magic on Facebook, you'll get the update about that. We have our 11th Capture the Flag competition, hopefully at Exploration Commons if it is opened by this time on October 23rd. We have our first Westminster Angel Network dinner for accredited investors on September 15th. They will be meeting with 2 different startup companies from Carroll County who will be pitching their businesses. We have our big Good Game Fest, and that's the branding for it there that you see. This is our 3-day gaming festival that's going to be hosted at Town Mall. We on September 24th to 26th, it's going to be part conference where we're having game industry executives come out to Westminster from Hunt Valley, from Vienna, Virginia, from Baltimore, who will be speaking about the benefits of the gaming industry on everything from entertainment to military defense applications, and really kind of highlighting career opportunities and pathways for students who have an interest in games, which is pretty much every student. So we're getting a lot of excitement about that event. It's also going to have tournaments in Fortnite. If you have kids, you probably have heard of that. Rocket League, Mario Kart, and Super Smash Brothers Ultimate. We're still looking for sponsors for that event, but we have quite a few lined up, and we're going to do a sponsor biz battle for anyone who wants to put their own employees to the test to compete against other businesses locally in our biz battle tournament. I know Ting already has a pretty impressive lineup with their staff, so they're probably the team to beat at the biz battle. And we also have an open play arcade that's going to be part of the event. So you'll be able to play classic arcade games at the event. There'll be live music, a band from Baltimore that actually does theme songs from video games, an orchestra, jazz orchestra. It should be a lot of fun. We'll have face painting and all. We're going the whole, throwing everything into this event. So we're really excited about it. We're doing another business risks event with Carroll Community College on November 12th. That's a cybersecurity business event. We have Ron Gula, who is the founder of Tenable in Howard County, and Gula Tech Adventures is his other nonprofit or investment arm. He'll be doing the keynote. We have another keynote from the general manager of Data Tribe. They are a big investment fund in cybersecurity businesses. So it should be a really compelling event to bring both businesses that need cybersecurity services and the cybersecurity people that are investing in these cybersecurity technologies. And then we will have more of our 1 million cups Westminster weekly meetings. Next slide, please. And that's it. So any questions?
Video is good.
Thank you. Any questions for Mr. Graham?
Mr. President,
Mr. Dale?
may we have a copy of this?
Thank you.
Yes, you may.
Can we, Mr. President, can we incorporate the presentation by reference in the minutes?
Certainly.
Thank you.
Mr. President, so that video that you guys put together,
Mhm.
is that something we could use?
Absolutely,
Like,
yeah. It's on
somehow let me
YouTube.
link it on our website or something
Absolutely,
like that? Okay. So,
There were several videos produced out of that event. That was the one that we hired Adam Stoltz to do. And then we had the Career and Tech Center did a couple of videos as well. And then even some of our sponsors like Absolute Perfection and Sykesville, they did a video as well that they circulated. So, but obviously, yeah, the one that we produced is free for the city to use.
okay, great. Thank you.
Well, obviously, I mean, I think it's almost as the mayor, and I was quietly talking, not interrupting, but she commented that, it's almost as great an advertisement for the fiber network as it is for Magic. That's really very impressive.
Yeah.
Be great to use.
Which should make sense, Mr. President, considering Magic is an outcrop of
Absolutely, yeah,
the
right.
fiber project.
Yeah. Mayor, did you want to add?
I was just gonna Mr. Kabachi took the words out of my mouth again.
Sorry.
That's okay. It's like we're on the same line. It's like
Well, and
we're-
that's intentional because we're looking
It's-
for ways to leverage the fiber network. And that's the other reason why we did the gaming focus and we started offering game development classes, because gaming, like the low latency of fiber, gives gamers and esports professionals a huge edge in the competition. In fact, one of the things that is happening with the gaming festivals, I'm meeting staff from the Ravens on the 25th at Town Mall who are interested in this event because they just announced their Ravens Gaming League a couple months ago. The Ravens actually has their own esports team now, or esports program that they're developing. And their staff are coming out to Town Mall to meet with us about this event. I'm also sort of teasing out the possibility at some point of an esports arena, maybe at Town Mall, maybe in the old Sears facility, as another economic development initiative that we would, kind of crystallize on behalf of the city and then, hopefully hand off to the city if that's of interest. Because I've found that there are 11 esports academic teams within about an hour's driving distance of here. And there is no formal tournament facility for any of them. So Westminster with our gigabit fiber could be the home of esports if we play our cards right.
Mr. President.
Mr. Kabachi?
So, Graham, there was a facility out there though, I thought, at the mall.
There's a gaming
Yeah,
facility.
gaming thing.
Yes, there's
Is that
tables and
gone?
towers. Battleground, the owners of Battleground, they sold it to new owners. Now it's called Tables and Towers.
Okay.
Basically, they were a victim of the pandemic. They weren't able to have anything happening in the mall there because.
So
of
is
that.
it gone?
No, it's still there. In fact, our tournaments are going to be held in their old space where they have all the fiber already wired and the Ethernet stations with the game.
But they're no longer in business.
Battleground is not. Tables and Towers has taken over both facilities. They're focused right now on the board game side of stuff, which they've had success in bringing back since the pandemic.
Okay.
They have not launched the console tournament space again since, but this event could be a catalyst for them doing more of that kind of stuff.
Great, thank you.
Well, Mr. Graham, I know, Mr. Doctor, I know you've been talking with the mayor, and I think that we need to have a conversation, a larger conversation, because you've got a lot of great projects that you're initiating, and I think we need to sit down and think about how the city can support these in a sustainable way, because there's a lot of exciting things that are happening, and certainly now's the time to try and, make them work and make sure that, there's the wherewithal there to make them sustainable. So it's an important conversation. Well, you've got to stop deferring to people.
All right.
Mr. President.
Mr. Dale.
So
I think we should need to go on to the mayor's report now.
No,
Before another word is uttered.
For another word is said, yes. Go ahead, Mr. Dale.
So we can go ahead and put this on the city's website also, the video,
Sure. Yeah, we'll figure out a way to do that.
and maybe put the report on the city's website also.
Well, It'll be
that's-
with the minutes.
Okay, all right.
Thank you. Okay. We could set aside the consent calendar.
No,
to do the
no,
mayor's
no.
report. You don't have, nothing on the consent calendar.
No.
All right, we have 2 items on the consent calendar tonight. We have a motion to approve the consent.
So moved, Mr. President.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Kavachi, second by Mr. Huff. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. The ayes seem to have it, the ayes have it. And now it's time for the mayor's report.
Oh, boy.
Before another word is said.
Thank you, Mr. President. So I have a report tonight. I'd like to give just a couple things that have been going on that have been busy in the city over the last couple weeks. So I'm going to focus on a few things that have happened in the past, and then a couple things for the future I'd like to bring the council's attention to. So the first item, I don't want to steal the thunder of Councilman Kavachi and some of the other council members, but the city hosted a fantastic national night out. I'm blanking on the date, whenever that was, just last week. And I think we just had a phenomenal turnout at all the events, and I really did enjoy that night, getting out, meeting with residents, and riding along with the chief. I like to extend my thanks for that as well. I'd also like to extend my thanks to the chief for giving me an assignment on the overdose response action team. And so I met with my small working group the other week, and we're with the mobile unit group. And so we're putting together, then if the chief would like to talk about that a little bit more later. I know that Councilmember Hoff is also involved in that as well. But sort of putting together a model for some other municipalities to use. And then finally, this is all related to our police department, which has been fantastic. I just want to say a quick thank you publicly to Sergeant Eckert and Officers Smith and Lash, who were at the farmer's market on Saturday and helped out with a small incident at the end of the farmer's market. And that they were just fantastic in coming over and assisting with us there. So Chief, if you could also thank them for me as well. And I know I thanked them a couple times too, but I also wanted to do it publicly. So there's a couple things. Oh, sorry, there is one more thing in the past. Fiber Commission. So this ties in really well with what Mr. Dodge was talking about, and I can never pronounce Valerie's last name. Giovanni, and this is like it ties in with that. So the Fiber Commission has been having email conversations, and they have their first meeting slated for September 1st, which I'm really excited about. So they'll be meeting at the city administrative building, and I think that one of the things I think they're going to be really excited to hear about is when you mentioned, what the question you get, when is Ting coming to my area? Because of course their short-term goal is to getting outside the city, following along with our water and sewer lines. Just a few things coming up for the future. I've asked Brooke Haggerty, she manages the farmer's market for us. I've asked her to come in September and give a short presentation about the farmer's market at a council meeting. I know some of you might be aware, I know we talked with Mr. Glass and a few other folks that we will be holding a Christmas market this year in Westminster as a shoot off from the farmer's market. It's going to be 3 weeks starting that weekend after Thanksgiving. And we're utilizing the Stockdale's property for that. So we worked with Public Works to make sure that that was going to be accessible for that. And we have a lot of interest in that. I don't know of another 3-week Christmas market that goes on in Carroll County. And I will say, if you haven't been to the farmer's market over the summer, so far, any given Saturday morning, there's between 800 and 1,000 people that come to the downtown Westminster Farmers Market. It has grown in leaps and bounds from when I first came to Westminster. And then also, Brooke is planning a winter market for us. Luckily, we live in an area that is a little temperate, and some of our growers grow year-round. And so she's planning a winter market, again, January through March, and we'll utilize the Stockstill building for that. Of course, we have some vendors that have meat, that are butchers or farmers or bakers, that a market like that is really ideal for them. And we have been sort of polling the attendees at the markets as well. And everyone is very excited about this. I think at the last count, we had already 15 vendors or so who were in for the Christmas market and a similar number in for the winter's market. And I honestly think, 7 years ago, I don't think we could have supported this. And really, Brooke has really brought this market on. And so I'm going to be probably coming to the council to ask for a little bit of extra funding here in the next week or so for the farmer's market. The second thing I want to follow up on, Graham and I have been having some meetings about magic and its role in the city. And one of the things I just wanted to follow up on is that tomorrow, it is tomorrow, right? Tomorrow, Graham and I are giving a presentation at the Maryland Connected and Automated Vehicles Working Group. Tomorrow. So, and our presentation is focused specifically on city and municipal involvement in these vehicles. And when I was checking, so there are 160 individuals who are registered for this. So this is another great opportunity to get Westminster out in the forefront. And if you're not aware of this working group, the working group has been around for a little bit, but in December 2020, Governor Hogan announced a framework, right, for Maryland Connected and Automated, a strategic framework for Maryland Connected and Automated vehicles. So I think that there's a lot of evidence that this is the way, right, that we'll be moving in the future. And we heard Ms. Kelly Schultz, right, Secretary of Commerce, on the video as well, talk about the importance of these sorts of frameworks and the automated corridoring. So I know Council Mayor Pecoraro had mentioned that, I think we need to look at some finances and working with Magic and heading towards some support for some of their initiatives that they'd like to bring. And that is all I have, Mr. President. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Becker. Move on down to reports from standing committees. Begin as we always do with our Arts Council liaison, Mr. Deha.
Thank you, Mr. President. Let's begin with, we're looking forward to the Eric Bird Trio. They're going to celebrate their 20th anniversary with a concert at the Carroll Arts Center. They are going to be at the Carroll Arts Center on Friday, August the 27th at 7:30. And we're looking forward to that concert. Want to also mention the third Wednesday Jazz Series has returned to the Carroll Arts Center. Let me see here. This is a series of 8 jazz concerts which feature jazz from local musicians And each concert also benefits a local nonprofit. On August the 28th, the Leicester Quartet will perform a concert at the Carroll Arts Center, and it will benefit the Community Foundation of Carroll County. The other exciting news for the Carroll Arts Center is after an extensive search, the Arts Council has named a new executive director to follow up on the work of Judy Morley, who is leaving shortly. Following an extensive search process, the Carroll Arts Center Board of Directors is pleased to announce Eric Kirschner as the next executive director. And there'll be an opportunity to meet Mr. Kirschner coming up. There'll be a reception on September the 30th from 5 to 7 at the Arts Council. Unless there's any questions, Mr. President, that's my report on the Arts Council.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Deha.
Thank you.
Economic and Community Development, Mr. Hoff.
Thank you, Council President. We actually had our first meeting on July 27th. The mayor was there, the council president was there as well. Mr. Debo, if I misspeak, please feel free to interject. We had 7 items, believe it or not, on our agenda. It was about an hour and a half long meeting. And prior to us meeting, staff and I decided to push some of the other items that we had on our radar screen to a different meeting. So we were kind of really jumping into it. I will mention a couple things. Obviously, a lot of the stuff we work on a committee level eventually will come to council, but just to kind of give you an early preview of a couple of these items. We are starting to work on doing some research into having a new water study done related to our allocation, because our current allocation policy expires in 2024. And we want to have plenty of time to work on that, to do an in-depth study, somewhat regarding our actual use, so that we have legitimate numbers, because a lot of times we're forced to use numbers that MDE provides, which may be an overestimation. So actually, by doing a really detailed water study, we actually could potentially pick up some capacity by the fact that we're not using as much water as MDE thinks we're using. But to do that, we have to prove it, which involves doing this water study. And the reality is, too, our current policy ends in 2024. So you'll be hearing more about that as time progresses on. We are also, staff is working on, and the committee will be working on a policy revision related to water transfers, very limited in scope. This really has to do with the state's attorney, Carroll County State's Attorney's office that is currently in the courthouse, is relocating, building a new building, but us being able to give them water, one of the solutions was the ability to transfer some of that from the courthouse to this new building, which we generally do not want to do. But for this particular purpose, we're considering creating a policy that would allow us in a very limited way, under very specific circumstances that would be approved by council, to do that, because obviously we're trying to help with the relocation of the state's attorney's office. Another thing, we're going to be working on putting out some RFPs for a downtown parking study. So that's going to be coming about. Additionally, we have formed a sign ordinance work group. Back in 2015, there was a Supreme Court case that basically made a lot of municipality sign ordinances unconstitutional in different ways. So, and it's time, in all frankness, to update our sign ordinance anyway. We're forming a work group on that. And again, at some point in time, you'll see something out of that. So those are the other three, kind of get very technical matters that we'll bring you at the appropriate time. But that just kind of gives you a sense. We're kind of diving into things, and there's a lot of plans to dive into other things as we move along. So if anyone has any questions.
Any questions for Mr. Hoff?
Mr. President,
Mr. Deha.
are we looking at upgrading the parking meters at some point?
that is a further step down after we do the parking study.
Okay,
Yes, that's on our radar screen as well.
thank you.
Okay, that's it.
Thank you. Finance Committee, we met 2 weeks ago. Had a very good discussion. Began the conversation with our consultants from Wye River Associates. The meeting was focused on how the city should look at dealing with the funds we're receiving under the American Rescue Plan. As you're all aware, the city is going to be receiving, we expect $18.2 million. We've received the first half of that funding, which is in city accounts right now. Talking with Wye River about what was the most advisable way to deal with this in order to manage the city's finances, and then also working with city staff to discuss it as well. City staff has identified largely infrastructure type spending, which is what the monies are mostly eligible for, that really take up most of that $18 million. I'm actually pretty pleased that we're going to be able to spend more of it than I thought. I think a lot of people are going to struggle with this, but I think we're going to manage to do it. And I think that it's going to be very beneficial to the city because it's going to take, it's going to allow us to repurpose some city funds, for other things that we need to do, while being able to spend these federal funds on a lot of these infrastructure activities, as well as a few other things. So, we'll have more details for you, and we're also looking forward to waiting until our new city administrator joins us in a few weeks to be able to discuss some of these plans in detail before we put together a plan that we could share with the entire group. But just wanted to update you and let you know that very pleased. We're including our council in these conversations because we want to make sure that we don't do anything that would be illegal or land the city in any kind of trouble. When you're dealing with these kind of federal funds, you have to be very careful. And of course, I know from my day job that a lot of airports who received these kinds of funds in previous federal aid packages, people are subject to all kinds of audits and review, and there's second guessing of how funds were used. So we're going to be very, very careful, make sure that we're only using the funds for things that that is made clear to us for which they're eligible. So be very careful on that. Personnel Committee, Ms. Gilbert.
I have nothing to report.
All right, thank you, Ms. Gilbert. Public Safety, Mr. Cavacci.
Couple things. As the mayor said, we had National Night Out last week. And just to follow up on that quickly, I think it's my 12th National Night Out that I participated in as a councilman. And unquestionably the biggest turnout that we've had since I've been on council. I think it says a lot about the community's appreciation for the job that the police department does. That's how I took it, seeing all those people out there. So a lot of that was them coming out and showing appreciation for the work that they do and just support for law enforcement in general. I think we have a community that supports its law enforcement. We see other communities that might be questionable, but there's no question here in Westminster where people stand. And that was really obvious on National Night Out. We had 6, I think, locations, and every single one of them had a whole bunch of people at it the entire time. I know the chief brought this up at our last meeting. I was not here. I was on vacation, but Major D'Antuono is retiring at the end of the month. Major D'Antuono ran our investigations division for a long time, did a really good job. He's now more in a administrative type role. He'll be missed. Pete's a good guy and did a good job here in our department, and we're going to miss him. We had 2 promotions, Huff and DeAngelis, Huff to sergeant, DeAngelis to corporal, young guys that are up and coming. And I think they both do a great job, and I was really glad to see them get these promotions. I think they're the future and the future face of the department. So I'm excited about that. The mayor made reference to this without too much detail. I'll go into just a tiny bit more detail. She talked about an incident at the farmer's market. It was actually 2. There was a theft of a pocketbook at the farmer's market and then one at the library. Within 24 hours, our department identified the individuals involved and arrested them. And they were not necessarily easy to find either. And it's just typical of the work that our police department does on a regular basis. And a theft of a pocketbook, I think, frankly, in a lot of places, I'm not even sure a report would get written for that. Yet our guys not only tracked it down and found them, but they made the arrest, and I'm sure there'll be a prosecution and hopefully some justice. Even though it's not a big deal, bottom line is that type of stuff leads to bigger problems later. So nipping it in the bud early is good. So nice work, Chief. Please pass that on. And crime continues to be relatively low. I mean, we're sitting here talking about a theft of a pocketbook. Or two of them. So that's not that we want any of those things, but if that's our the things that we can talk about, that's what we want to be talking about. That's it, Mr. President.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Kavachi, and we'll keep you on the spot for the Public Works Committee report.
Mr. President, couple of things. A number of us, I believe it was it three of us out there? Mayor, were you on that tour?
No, I
You
was on
weren't.
vacation, or I was
Okay.
away.
So it was just Councilwoman Gilbert and yeah, you were there, right, Kevin?
Yes, sir.
And Councilman Dayhuff, I'm sorry.
Yes, sir. It's all good.
You were there. So Councilman Dayhuff and Councilwoman Gilbert and myself attended a tour of our water reuse plant or water reuse test facility or pilot facility. It was really impressive. There was people there from WATEC. There was our own city staff there. There were scientists from University of Maryland, and there were people from NDE in attendance. Without question, I was the dumbest person in the room, and that was very obvious after listening to everyone speak about things. Oh yeah, you were there. Thank you. Jeff is pointing to you like he was there. Thank you. That's right. The commissioner was there also.
For the minutes. Commissioner Fraser.
Commissioner Fraser was there. Thank you, Jeff. Appreciate that. And it was really interesting. And it's funny. At one point, I had a chance to talk to I don't know what his role is, but a pretty top guy in MDE. And it's obvious they're pretty excited about it too. I mean, this guy was fired up about what we're doing, and to see MDE, who's typically uber conservative, be excited about this is really awesome. The WATEC people we have running it, holy cannoli. Wow. I mean, a whole different level of intellect that's out there doing this. I know Jeff understood everything. Mr. Glass understood everything they were saying, but I was picking up about 5%. Anyway, really impressive. I think this is going to lead to really good things for us here in the city. John Rawlings is retiring after 36 years of service in the Public Works Department. Talk about being missed. He's definitely going to be missed. Has done a wonderful job for the city. And I know Mr. Glass specifically had him and I spoke about this, and he's loath to see him go. But after 36 years, who can blame him? So we're certainly going to miss him. That's it, Mr. President.
All right, thank you, Mr. Kavachi. Recreation and Parks, Mr. Deha.
Not much of a report. I think we have Director Gruber. Do we have a meeting tomorrow evening, correct? Yeah, we have a Parks Advisory Board meeting tomorrow evening. And we're looking forward to seeing what we can build upon as far as bringing recreation and opportunities to the city of Westminster. That'll be it, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Deha. And Technology Committee, I don't have anything to report except to say that later on the agenda in the closed session, we'll be talking with Mr. Davidson, and he's going to be sharing some things with you. I hope we'll springboard a larger conversation about some things the city has to do. And that's all I have to say about that until later. Now for council comments and discussion, when members of the council have the opportunity to comment on other items that did not necessarily come under their committee reports. At this end of the table with Mr. Hall.
The only comment I'll make again, several people have already touched on it. National Night Out was phenomenal. Matter of fact, I had a friend of mine who's an elected official that hasn't always come out to our National Night Out, make a comment about what a great event it was and how impressive that we had all these locations that And as Mr. Kavachi said, I mean, each of the locations were very impressive unto themselves. If that was the only event in the city. So it was really quite impressive that we had, I think, 5 neighborhoods participating that night, and each one of them was awesome. I ate more than my fair share of food that night because everyone had their own thing, but it was just an awesome event. And I just have to kind of mention that. And that's it for me.
All right, thank you, Mr. Hawk. Mr. Kavachi.
Yeah, Mr. President, just one quick thing. I just would like to just bring Commissioner Frazier back up one more time. He's been unbelievably supportive of the city for his tenure. I know you're not done yet. You still have about a year left. But, you coming to our meetings and being here and listening to what we're saying, and then when we call you and need you for things, you're always there. I've been around, previous to you being commissioner. It's unfortunate that you're termed out, to be frank. I wish you weren't, because it would be great to have you do it again. We're certainly going to miss you. I know it's not over yet, but I just wanted to make sure that the folks listening at home understand the relationship that we have. And that's, I would say, not typical. I think that the relationship we enjoy with you as our commissioner is probably a little uncommon for municipalities and county government to kind of interact the way we do. And we're grateful for it. And hopefully we can continue to build bridges with the rest of the commissioners too, or continue to have a good relationship with them as well. But I just wanted to thank you for, taking the time to come out here on a Monday night when you've been probably in meetings all week already, or all last week. So thank you.
Thank you very much for saying that.
Thank you, Mr. Kavachi. And those are sentiments with which I agree, I would say. Ms. Gill?
Yes, I have a couple things. I wanted to, again, take a shout out to Chief Ledwell. Many of you know that I'm a social worker for my 40-hour day job. And close to about 2 weeks ago, I had a client who had some difficulty and was kind of wandering around the neighborhood late at night. And one of the officers stopped her, and she had no idea who I was as far as sitting on the council, or would even, say anything. But she actually commented and complimented the officer up and down, and said that the officer stayed with her for over 30 minutes, talked with her and calmed her down, and gave her resources to other partners in our community, which so nicely complemented my resources that I gave her the following day, which was really nice to know that everybody was backing up each other. But I wanted to express, she just thought that the officer was caring and empathetic, very helpful, something that she doesn't normally see with police officers, or hasn't, at least in her past. So I wanted to compliment him and his team, his great approach to policing in our Westminster area and to our community. Not to mention dealing with something like that, which a lot of people take for granted, that it's not as important, but it is. It means something to a lot of people. Along with the fact that they deal with auto accidents and domestic disputes and life-saving calls and 20 million other things during the day. So I just wanted to shout out to Chief Ledwell and his team. Along with that, that leads into National Night Out that everybody else has talked about, that it was just great weather. It was a great job by all the communities and the coordinators for each of those communities. And then that leads me to Mr. Glass. And I know Councilman Kavachi has already talked about this, but yes, wanted to thank him for the wastewater team. Well, him and the wastewater team for the tour, WATEC for their help and the informational session, along with University of Maryland, MDE, and the tour of the Walkersville plant also. For those of us, I'm kind of like Tony. I know you all really did understand all those acronyms of UV, AOP, and GAC, but I actually started kind of learning what that all meant. So thank you. And to take the walk in the course of how the water will travel made it kind of understandable to those of us who aren't quite as educated. in water reuse.
Next door, there'll be a test at the end.
Okay, I'll make notes on my flyers. I also wanted to remind everyone that Restaurant Week for Carroll County is this week, so don't forget to dine out for breakfast, lunch, dinner, or just go to, grab a takeout. And lastly, I want to make the council aware and the community. I know Councilman Cavacci and myself have been working a little bit on this project, but Councilman Cavacci brought this up at another council meeting with a partnership with the Veterans Independence Project, that we were going to be working together to supply banners down Main Street on our poles. So the CCVIP will also be working with Mr. Glass, but right now we have a cost of $150 for those flags. That includes the brackets. They're ready to go up for sale. You'll be seeing flyers shortly. If anybody's interested with the forms, you can come pick them up at the center, or you can call the Veterans Center and they will get you one. There'll soon be a link on their website. And just to remember that Veterans Day, you will have a choice for those flags, but there'll be another whole set of different flags going up around Memorial Day. So we'll be doing 2 different sets of flags as the meaning of each Veterans Day and Memorial Day is slightly different. So I just wanted to make everybody aware that will be coming up very shortly.
It's a fundraiser.
And it is, yes, it will be a small fundraiser for the center. So not only will the person be purchasing the flag, but it will also be for helping out the center.
Good cause.
Great, thank you. Mr. Dayhoff.
Yeah, I always appreciate it when I go to communities and I see those banners in the community. So I'm looking forward to that project. I was also impressed with the, I served in the military, and even I was impressed with the long list of acronyms and RO and all the other.
Reverse osmosis.
Yeah, reverse osmosis.
Yeah, learned something.
Yeah, we were picking up on it. And that was what the public, it was MDE was there, and then also the University of Maryland Public Health, help me. Public Health.
That's correct, for the public health sector. That's right.
Yeah, okay. They were there. That was an exciting group of individuals, and I was also really impressed at how many folks were excited about our project. And that was a great facilities tour. I guess I also want to mention how much I appreciate the farmers market. It's really well done. I really enjoy going it. We really look forward to it. We really look forward to it every week. National Night was a great success. I was able to only attend 2 of the 6 neighborhood events this time around. I had a meeting with I'm on the board of the American Legion, and I had to take off for that. I also wanted to express my appreciation of Commissioner Frazier's attendance and your support of the local community. I've known you for a long time, and I've always been extremely impressed with your work. It started back in the 90s. Weren't you in planning and zoning, Westminster? Yeah, you were. Yeah. Best wishes to Pete D'Antuono and John Rawlings upon their retirement. Their wealth of knowledge and expertise and institutional knowledge will be greatly missed. And I think that wraps it up, Mr. President. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Dayhoff. Move on now to bids. We have only one item on the agenda for bids: approval of the purchase of a street department utility truck. Mr. Glass.
Yes, sir. The current city's budget for the general fund allocates funding for the replacement of trucks and equipment, and this one proposed is for a 1-ton utility truck for the street department. The requested vehicle is available through an existing contract between Baltimore County and Apple Ford. Our procurement code allows us to piggyback on that competitively awarded contract. The vehicle in question is a Ford F-350 with a utility body, and further back in the packet, there's additional information with the attached quote and then specification sheets, etc. The cost of the unit is $46,617.98. That, of course, includes all of the selected options. The budget for this project is $60,000. As noted above, the purchase price is is below that at 46,617.98. At this point, we would recommend that Mayor and Council authorize the purchase of the replacement utility truck from Apple Ford, Columbia, Maryland. Total amount of $46,617.98.
Right, very good. Thank you, Mr. Glass. Any questions for Mr. Glass? Actually, let's get a motion first. So a motion to approve the bid.
I'll move, Mr. President.
Second.
Been a motion by Mr. Kavachi, and a second by Ms. Gilbert. Val, any discussion? Those questions for Mr. Glass?
One thing, Mr. President, that's really good.
That's quite a price.
And I
In
can't
today's
believe you're
market.
actually gonna be able to get the vehicle.
So that's the plan. Let's put
Yeah.
it that way.
So let's hope you actually can procure it.
Exactly when it'll be delivered, I can't tell you that.
Yeah.
There are issues with that, but this is the first step.
I thought Mr. Kavachi was gonna ask you to get a second one.
Mine is starting to, I have an F-350 and it is starting to rust out.
All right, any further comments? Hearing none? We want to do a vote. All those in favor of the bid, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. The ayes seem to have it. The ayes have it. Mr. Glass, you got your truck.
Thank you, sir.
New business, we have one item, Mr. Kavachi.
Yes, Mr. President, I'd like to move to go into into a closed session under the general provision of Articles 3-305B under subsection 7 to consult with counsel to obtain legal advice, and to under subsection 15 to discuss cybersecurity.
Very good, thank you. Is there a second to Mr. Kavachi's motion?
I'll make a second.
Motion by Mr. Kavachi and a second by Ms. Gilbert to move into a closed session at the conclusion of the regular meeting. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. The ayes seem to have it, the ayes have it, and we will do so at the end of the regular meeting. Now it's time for departmental reports, and we'll begin, as we always do, with our interim city administrator. And before he begins his report and leads us through the departments, let me just say that Mr. Deutsch, I don't think we'll meet again in public before your time with us comes to a close, but it's been a pleasure having you back again. As you know, you're someone that we've been able to bring into this role and have absolute confidence in, and you've done a terrific job for us again, as you did last time, and it's just been great to be able to serve with you again.
Thank you, Mr. President. Good evening, Mayor and Council, and I'll make a couple remarks after the directors have spoken. Let me start with Finance, Ms. Colston.
Thank you, Council President. I have nothing new to report, but I'm available for questions should you have them.
Thank you. Mr. Brown?
Sure. I just wanted to just inform the mayor and council about the rental housing license program, just to keep you up to date. As you know, when a person leases a unit, they need to obtain a license. The licenses are generally good between, for fiscal years, which end June 30, we give them a 30-day grace period to allow us to be able to process this. This fiscal year, we've had about a little over 600 landlords that have responded. Vast majority of them was able to renew and pay online. Close to 60% was able to do that. And I also want to take this opportunity to thank Councilmember Hoff for allowing me to pick his brains about the rental housing license program, and look forward to a more engaging conversation with him as we move forward. So that's my report, Mr. President, Madam Mayor, and council members. I'll be happy to answer any questions that you all may have.
All right. Any questions?
Mr. President, just one quick comment. That's a smart move. We're very fortunate to have somebody like Councilman Huff with the level of expertise relative to rental licensing. And I'm sure I speak for the rest of my colleagues. He's going to probably give you the best advice of anybody sitting up here, because it's what he does for a living. So it's smart.
Right. Mr. Brown, so you said 60-some% have been able to re-register.
Just about 60%.
So the remaining, that haven't, we're following up with them, or are they going out of the business, or what's happening?
No, these were ones that actually did their payments online.
Oh, they did it online. Oh, you
did
said
it
they did it
online.
Okay,
Yeah,
that's great.
We had about 600 licensees that did renew. as you know, some may have multiple units, but 600 individual landlords did renew. I thought it went reasonably well. There are some lessons that we learned that we'll take into the next term, but I'm honestly real satisfied with the response rate.
Very good.
Council President, I'll just make one comment as someone who receives those notices. I was very impressed this year in particular because in the past, sometimes as a landlord, you didn't always, the communication wasn't so great in all honesty. You kind of sort of had to remember that you had to renew it. And we got a whole batch of emails well ahead of time. So I thought that was a really, good sign and very encouraging. So, that's great to see that happening. And the other anecdotal thing I will mention, earlier this year, the good thing is I think people realize at this point in time, the rental licensing program does exist. And I purchased the property earlier in the year where the party had not paid it for multiple years. And that came up through the search of the title and checking with the city, and that all those back fees got paid. So the nice thing is, even when someone is out of compliance, at some point it's going to catch up with them. But I think, staff is working on trying to, make sure we get them before something like that. And that is an item that is on future economic development, economic community development agenda to be talking about the rental licensing program more.
Right, because we had to get this level right before we could move on to the next level.
Yeah.
Very true.
President, follow-up question. Also looking at it from the public safety point of view, I can't tell you how many times I'm standing out in the middle of the street in the middle of the night and we can't find the person who owns the property. And that is improving. And we really, really appreciate that. That was one of the legislative intents when we developed that program many years ago. And I can't thank you enough for all the work on that. Thank you, Mr. President.
Let's move on to Mr. Depot.
The Planning and Zoning Commission on August 12th has one item. It's the Meadow Branch Industrial Park subdivision. This is up next to the airport. And on September 9th, the Planning Commission is tentatively scheduled to hear the East Middle School site plan. So that's coming up in September, and hopefully they intend to break ground in October. There's a lot of things going on with that project right now. And that completes my report.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Gruber.
Good evening. Last Wednesday, I met with representatives from the Bureau of Resource Management at Carroll County, and we began discussing reforestation efforts for the Wakefield property. And as a primary initiative, we're going to take the CAD files from the master plan and overlay some reforestation, some planting suggestions in where the plan has called for reforestation, just to take a look at it, see how it fits with some of the other initiatives that are outlined in the planning document that was presented to you at your last council meeting and in paper format this evening. So I hope to be bringing forward a reforestation plan to you at some point, so we can assess the validity of that and perhaps move forward with getting some trees planted out there, which do a lot for us for stormwater credits, and certainly will do a lot for the property out at Wakefield in advancing some of the goals that we've set forth for that parcel. In addition to that, I am happy to announce that we had a vacancy, a 40-hour position at the fitness center. It's a rec assistant position, and with the help of human resources and about 5 scheduled interviews, we selected a candidate, and the Human Resources Department did make an offer to that candidate last week. He is our current pool manager and has been our pool manager since 2015. So we're confident that he has some good background knowledge and should be able to hit the ground running with us, even though we can't really bring him on into the fitness center until after the pool closes. So we are looking forward to welcoming Dylan Barber to our team. In addition to that, As Councilman Dayhoff indicated, the Recreation and Park Advisory Board will be meeting tomorrow evening at 6 p.m. I believe we're still meeting virtually at this point, but I'm waiting to hear back on a final answer. And then on Wednesday, I am happy to be meeting with Grove and Del Olio Associates, and that is the firm that was commissioned to conduct the historic structures assessment on the Durbin House. So that project is moving into its final phases. I have a draft document I've been reviewing, and I will meet with them at 1 o'clock on Wednesday to go over the document so that we can propel that into final format and get a presentation scheduled at some point for you, so that you can see the results of that planning document that will guide our future efforts with the Durbin House. And the only other thing that I am working on currently is 2 grant applications, a community parks and playgrounds application, which is due near the end of this month. And I have started to assess what opportunities we may have with the T-Mobile grant. And I'm working through a proposal to submit on behalf of the city for those grant monies. That concludes my report, unless there are questions.
Okay, thank you. Ms. McCullough.
Good evening. To date, we have 61 employees across all departments who have submitted their vaccine card for the COVID-19 to receive their incentive. We have participated in panel interviews with the Recs and Parks Department. As been mentioned earlier, we've processed 2 promotions, 2 retirements, and we assisted the police department in distributions for the Safeway donations. That completes my report.
All righty, thank you. Mr. Davidson.
I have a report prepared for closed session for you all tonight, so that's my report for right now.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Glass.
Yes, just 2 things. There's been discussion about the water reuse pilot and the tour. I know there were a number of people that weren't able to make it. We can have a second tour as well.
Yes.
It'll be with a little less fanfare, but I'll be there, so it'll be fun.
I'll bring a trumpet.
There you go. So all you have to do is, it'll be more impromptu, but we'll organize that at a time when WATEC can be there, and we'll go through that whole thing. It's still as interesting, but with less fanfare if we do it that way. The second thing is back to John Rawlings' retirement. He was the superintendent of the wastewater plant and has been so for the last 25 years. It's no easy feat that he's maintained operation through the ENR project, as that's the city's largest capital project to date, in the $70+ million. And of course, I'd like for him to stay for the completion of that project, but that's only because I'm as selfish as I am. But at this point, I certainly would wish him well, and it's been said before, but I'll say it again. This will be a great loss to the city. And that's all I have to say.
Thank you, sir. Chief Ledwell.
Yes, good evening. So today we participated in our annual Shop with a Cop Back to School event. It's a great collaboration. The Carroll County Sheriff's Office, Shepherd staff, the Health Department, Walmart, Maryland Department of Transportation, and multiple local businesses who donated their services all participated. This is a community outreach event where we get to pair with a family in need to gather up needed required school supplies for the children for the school year. We also had a bunch of fun activities. The local businesses donated haircuts. We did bus safety. Walmart did vision checks. We had a DJ and a bunch of other stuff. So that was a great event today in Dutterers Park. As Councilman Kavachi mentioned, we did promote Brian Hoff. He was a corporal to a sergeant position that was vacant due to Sergeant Beaumont's retirement a few months ago. And then PFC Alex DeAngelis moved into Corporal Hoff's slot as a corporal. Both were great candidates. It was a competitive promotional process with multiple steps. The only downside to it is that we had a lot of great applicants in the process, so it's a tough decision. We also conducted 2 final applicant interviews and extended job offers to 2 individuals who will start with the Carroll County Sheriff's Office Police Academy on September the 20th. We have several other applicants in background that we are timing dependent, trying to also get into that same police academy. And then we have an individual who's at the MPCTC Academy in Sykesville, and he is scheduled to graduate in the beginning of September. The mayor mentioned earlier our opioid response protocol work group. We do meet again tomorrow. And as I touched upon in the last meeting, it's 4 areas that we're working on. One is a standardized curriculum for all first responders, both law enforcement and EMS, fire EMS, a training curriculum. The second piece to it is a more standardized response protocol where we can harness all the great expertise in the community, from the clinical to law enforcement to peers in recovery, to respond as a team to overdose. The third piece is to increase our investigative capabilities for especially the fatal overdoses. There's a lot of technical investigative aspects that we are attempting to acquire some software and other things to increase our ability to quickly identify those who deal in the potent formulas that end up in fatal overdoses. And then the fourth piece to it is to kind of get more of our players, so to speak, on the same team as far as our follow-up response goes to overdoses. So those are the 4 things we're concentrating on. We're about action with this, and we've reached out to resources that have been a great help, including a senior vice president with the hospital and others who are making things happen. So excited about that. One thing that was in the paper, I believe about a week or 10 days ago, is that the gentleman who assaulted another individual on Main Street, it had to do with some national politics, pled guilty. And so that ended in a successful prosecution. So I know we had talked about it at a meeting several months ago, so wanted to follow up on that. I believe everything else has already been talked about, National Night Out and the solving of the pocketbook thefts. So that's all I have.
Thank you, Chief. And Mr. President, if I could just take a couple minutes and first of all, thank you for your kind remarks earlier. This is my last council meeting, given the schedule this month. I will be working through the end of the month. In fact, that weekend's, I think, September 3, actually. But I want to thank you all for the opportunity to serve, and I thank the mayor and council for your support. And I want to publicly thank the staff who are here tonight, as well as others who could not be at tonight's meeting, for their assistance. It's been great working with folks that I worked with in the past and some folks that are newer to the community. So I've enjoyed it once again, but I do appreciate the opportunity, and I wish you all the best as you turn challenges into opportunities in Westminster. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Deutsch. And again, on behalf of all of us, thank you very much. I know we'll get the chance to talk with you again personally in the weeks ahead and have those conversations. But really publicly do want to thank you for coming back to us a second time and doing such a great job.
Let's not make it the third. No offense.
The third time's the charm. That's when we actually get them full time.
Thank you all.
The mayor had something, we wanted to go back to the mayor. She had something she forgot to mention earlier.
Thank you, Council President. Just very quickly, I forgot to mention during my report. On August 21st, I will be welcoming McDaniel students, McDaniel freshmen, officially to Westminster as part of the McDaniel welcome that Mayor Dominic had set up. And so at 10 a.m., there'll be approximately 400 students walking from the college down to the library on Main Street. I will meet them at the city administrative building and walk the remainder of that path with them, welcome them to the city with a few comments, and then they will have some time to explore the downtown area and the surrounding area. And so I'd like to thank the college, for it's their event. We're just sort of, I think they've sort of taken over the event as far as coordinating everything. And I just like to note that this highlights this connection that we have between the city and the college, which is really important and only continues to grow.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor, and thank you for doing that. It's certainly important to welcome them appropriately, and I'm glad you're going to be on hand to it. Great. And we'll watch out for you at Main Street. Lead the parade. Thank you. Final item on our agenda is citizen comments, when we invite the public to address the mayor and council on any issues that pertain to tonight's agenda or any other city issues. During the pandemic, when we could not welcome our citizens to attend our meetings, we adopted the practice of inviting comments to be sent to us through our city clerk at comments@westgov.com. Now that we're back here in person, we have discontinued reading those comments publicly, although we will still welcome people sending us comments through that address if they can't show up for the meetings, and we will share those comments with the mayor and council. We encourage ask commenters to include their address and phone number with their comments. That's very helpful to us as well. And at this time, I'll then welcome anybody from the community who'd like to speak. I don't think anybody else is here except for the commissioner, who welcome any final thoughts you might have. But other than that, that concludes our agenda and the meeting. We are going to cancel the second meeting in August. And so our next regular meeting will be held on Monday, September 13th. And with that, without objection, we are adjourned. Please stay safe and healthy, wear your mask, and get your shot.